Hello guys. So in this video we will understand the concept of functions and how do we use functions in C and what are the types of functions that are available. So basically function is well known for having some set of statements that is present in an individual block that you can call n number of times. So how does function helps is you can have large programs that can be divided into small blocks, and those blocks are known as your function. And also when you have some repetitive blocks, that is some set of codes that are repeated many times in your code, so you can put it in a function and you can call it. So this is also one advantage of having a function. So there are a lot of advantages of a function. So we have three important things when we are trying to do function. So first we have to declare a function, that is we have to tell what type of function I'm creating with what return type and what argument, right? And then I have to call the function, that is calling a function. Wherever you want to call that block you can call it, and then you have your function definition, that is giving the meaning for your function, or you can say the statements to the functions. So there are two types of functions in C programming language. We have library function and user defined function. So library functions are the functions that comes built in with the libraries.h header files what you have. Say for example you use printf, scanf, all these are functions that are already ready-made for us, whereas user defined functions are the one which we write based on the problem what we are solving or based on our program. So here's a very simple syntax for writing a function. So void is a return type which says that it's returning nothing, so the function returns nothing. So here void, and then here I have function name as hello, that is the name I have given to this block is hello. So here this is void hello, and what is the implementation? So implementation is simply printing print hello C. And here you can see of another type where you are returning a value. When you say returning a value, when I call a function it returns me some value. So when to return a value, first you have to specify what type of value you are returning. So here I'm saying int of get, that means this function called get is returning an integer value. And then to return you have to use return keyword to return the value, and always return is used at the last, so that once the entire function is executed it will return. So if you place this somewhere in between, then what happens, it will just return off and it won't execute the further programs. So this is another example of returning float type. So these are few examples for your functions. So let us look at few coding examples. Let us look at few programs. So here's a very simple program. So first we have done function declaration, where we have declared saying that I have a function called as sum which has a return type void, that is that function is not returning anything. And then in my main function I have a simple print statement saying that going to calculate sum, and then I'm calling the function. So this is called as function call, that is here I'm calling the function called as sum, that is I'm telling that hey, I'm going to call the function called as sum. Now coming here, I have created two independent variables here, a and b, and here I'm going to display print two numbers. I'm inputting two numbers, and then here I'm getting two numbers from the console. So after prompt message I'm getting two input from the console, and then finally printing the sum. So now if you check in output, if you execute this, so first it is going to display this, going to calculate, and then it is going to enter two numbers and perform the sum. So how the flow works is it enters void main, or it enters the main function. There it says that I'm calling a function called sum, so it goes and search for function called sum. So there is a function here called sum, so it executes this function. So this is the simple function program. So let us look at a program where we have some argument passing in, that is you're giving some input to a function. So here I have first declared a function saying that I'll have a function called sum in which I'll be passing two integer parameters, or I'm going to pass two integer value. So in my main function here you can see I've created three variables, a and b, to get the input and result to store the output. Now what happens here is basically I'm going to print some messages and prompt message, and I'm going to get some values. Now once I read some value from the user, so I'm going to call that function called sum, and I'm going to pass these two values to that function. So once I pass this two value to that function, so here in that function I'm storing that into a variable called a and b. So here a and b is a local variable. So this function, it is taking that input and performing the addition. So this is an example for function with passing an argument. So in next video we'll write some function programs.